All right, folks, good evening and welcome to day two of the 2026 ProQual out of Seattle, Washington. I'm here at the eJournal headquarters at the National Go Center in very beautiful, cool Washington, D.C. I am lying. It is really hot. I am inside where it is relatively cool. Todd Heidenreich is also here. He's been updating. I know a lot of you were asking yesterday and today about where are the results and all of the stuff, and it is all up now on League Go, and you can see all of the results there. I think Todd is messing around. He has some issues with the colors, so the colors may not be right, and he knows that. So don't send us any nasty notes about that. We're fixing it. So we have had some very interesting games today, but we are pleased to welcome our commentators for tonight, Joel Kenny, 5-Don, and Laura Wu, 4Q. Joel and Laura, welcome.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Appreciate you being here. Now, I forget, where are you guys located?
We're in New York City, and so yeah, it's quite a scorcher today. We have the heat wave. But,
triple digits. I hear you guys hit 100. That is not normal temperatures.
But we're very excited to be doing this commentary, and also just to watch these games. Very exciting games that happened today. You know, we have to say, Alan Huang is he's a personal friend of ours, and he's also just kind of our New York City homegrown hero. You know, we've really been cheering pretty hard for him this entire tournament. But also, so the first game we want to look at is the round 3 game between Alan and Michael. And Huang-Xu is actually Joel's fellow Canadian countryman. So
hey, I
don't know, like, where were you conflicted? Like, where did your loyalties lie here?
I have to go with Alan. He's like the New York City hero.
Yeah,
This is like a World Cup situation, right? Like, who do you?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, can't we root for everybody?
You have to cheer for both equally.
Exactly. There's like, I kind of win either way.
Yeah. But let's
Laura, that's a 5-Don attitude, right? He wins either way.
Yeah, exactly. You have to get a good position either way.
Right.
So let's get right into it. So just maybe as a quick recap of the standings, we are on day 2 of the ProQual. So we're still in the group stage at this point. Round 3 was played this morning in Seattle at 10 a.m. Round 4 is currently ongoing. And so the standings right now after round 3, in Group A, we have Huang-Xu, the young 13 now, right? 13-year-old Canadian leading the pack at 2-0. And then in second place, we have Alan Huang from New York City at 2-1. And then Eric Yoder 1-1, Evan Tan 1-1, Jeremiah Donnelly over 3. And then in Group B right now, we have Tio Wu leading the pack at 2-0. And is Tio the other Canadian?
Tio is also Canadian.
All right. Yes. So both Canadians strongly representing this tournament, doing quite well. We have Eric Lee at 2-1. So they're in the top 2 positions right now. And then Ethan Whitman 1-1, Jasper Liu at 1-1, and then Val Lewis over 3 right now. So round 3 was incredibly exciting that happened this morning. I think we really saw some decisive victories, and especially so in Group B we saw Tio winning against Eric Lee and surging ahead to the top of Group B, and then also in Group A, I think in a really stunning results that has shocked everyone who was watching. We saw 13-year-old Huang-Xu kind of beating Alan in a half-point game. I think Alan, as many of us know, he was kind of like a favorite going into this. He's sort of like the big like juggernaut, the one to beat. He's certainly been playing at a very high level. He's at the peak of his game right now, and honestly at like a professional level, as we've all seen for many years now. So for Michael to step up and win this round 3 game was a really huge accomplishment.
Yeah, it really like makes the whole tournament something a lot more interesting. The first 2 games Alan played were both, he won by resign, but he was up by 70 at that point, and so we were worried he would just run away with the tournament. But now suddenly the tournament's kind of up for grabs. So should maybe get into that game and see just what happened. So Alan Huang was black and Michael-Xu was white. The opening was pretty normal post-AI stuff. We just saw a couple of 3-3 invasions to start. And then Alan double approached. And then we saw Joseki play on at the top left. And this is all kind of standard Joseki. Black comes back to the bottom right. And then, so this move by white was very big. You can imagine if black had gotten something like this, then black would be able to develop the bottom very well. And so when black ends up extending here, which is also a very big move, white decided to extend, and then it means that black can never get all that much on the bottom. So now white's built up a big left side, so black invades. And it's not so easy for white to actually like kill this stone. If you just try and defend the territory, then that doesn't feel very good.
Yeah, I thought that this was an interesting moment in the game, this invasion point by Alan as black. And I thought that Michael's attach move was somewhat surprising because, as a Q player, and I'm here to like basically represent the Q players and
Go Q
ask more
players.
questions. Exactly. But we've kind of been taught as a principle, don't attach to the weak stone. And so my first instinct here, right, you obviously don't want to push from your strong side. So you don't want to push from, C7 as a mistake, because that's too close to the thickness, right? Yeah. I might also have considered like a capping move as well. But then it does feel like black gets to live comfortably on the inside. So I thought this attach, even though it's to the invading stone, was a really interesting choice.
Yeah, I think like you could consider a move like this, but attaching tends to be more forceful on black, and you're not really aiming to make a large scale attack on this stone. You kind of are already accepting that black is going to live in here, and white is aiming to transfer their influence out towards the center and keep black surrounded. And so we ended up seeing something like that happen in the game. This is very natural shape, white hanes, black counter hanes, and then white cuts. And so what ends up happening is that black is able to settle pretty easily, but white has a lot of thickness on the outside. And then this next move by white is also like very consistent with this plan of just getting very thick on the outside and using that to like kind of control the rest of the game. Other moves that the AI was suggesting was also just coming here. This kind of indirectly defends the bottom group in case black decides to pull out. White could just kind of fight with both groups. This would be like a more quick way to play, but I actually kind of like what Michael's very thick move as well.
Right. So it's not that like defending at G7 was a mistake. It was just a choice that makes his center influence like incredibly thick, which will come into play in the fighting later. But at this point in the game, I remember tuning in when it was happening live and just quickly checking score estimate. It's dead even right now. After this opening.
Yeah, and it's going to be dead even for a lot of the game, with one side occasionally pulling ahead. In this case, because white didn't approach the bottom right, black was able to finish off the bottom right, which is a very natural move. It also prevents white from playing there and expanding white's moyo. So now white grabs this large move on the top side, and then black is looking for a place to play and sees that this is the weakest group left on the board. And so we have to figure out a way to attack it. One way to do that could be to try and hit at this point, with the idea that if white tries to split you, black can play like this kind of diagonal move. And then something like this might happen, and this might have been okay for black, but then white's also sort of connected up as well. So it takes away the territory, but it doesn't split white. So I like this move by black to very forcefully split white into two groups.
Yeah, this move was really surprising to me. White had sort of taken the big move in completing this Joseki follow-up on the upper right, and this is a decisive moment where black has Sente and black chose to attack this group by attaching. So I think maybe one of the reasons is that if we look at your variation, where black just plays under and scoops up all the territory, right? Black has the points here, but maybe the center influence is playing very well with white center thickness on the left side.
Yeah.
So it's possible that Alan didn't like that and tried to find another way.
Yeah.
Maybe unconventional.
And so, yeah, now when white tries to connect up, black refuses to let white connect up like this. And so white Ataris. And then if white was to take like this, then this would be too easy for black. Something like this, or even this, would just give black a very thick position on the top side. And white is actually a little bit cramped. So white instead had to connect here, and this let black descend. And black was able to connect up to the corner with these stones. And critically, this ladder does not work for white. So that kind of makes the whole sequence work. If white could have captured here, then Alan couldn't have played this way. Instead, white just had to extend, and black was able to save the cutting stones. And so a big fight kind of breaks out. And this fight is actually still like pretty even.
Right, at this point in the game, they're still basically just dead even. And I remember thinking just how impressive it was, even before we all knew like the results of the game, to see like Michael just keeping up so well this game and keeping it so tight.
Yeah. And so, yeah, now Michael plays a few exchanges because the black corner is already pretty solid. So Michael's able to use these moves as forcing moves. Now both white groups have been reinforced a little bit, and then white pushes here. And then this was also a critical moment. Black is actually a little bit ahead here according to the AI, but only if black can find like the key idea. And the key idea was this crosscut. Now this is like a very like interesting move, because if white just takes this stone, which works, black can first Atari like this, white will take, and then black extends. And then all the black's groups are actually pretty solid, and the white group, it's got a Panuki, but it's surrounded and it feels kind of cramped. So this wouldn't be all that satisfying for white. White could also try and break out like this, but if this happened, then when black plays 5, the black group on the top is like pretty comfortable, and the black group in the center is able to fight with the white group on the right, and so black is also doing pretty well in this variation. So this would have been the best way for Alan to continue, but it's difficult to think about moves like this sometimes. So Alan played a different idea, which was to descend here, and he's aiming at some ideas to still pull out this stone.
So essentially for move 99, it was a slight miss. Joel was showing the sequence that we got from Catago that would have been a slight opportunity for black to gain a 4-point advantage here. But in the game, he didn't find it. It actually, it's a little unimaginable to me to crosscut there. It looks frankly kind of terrifying as a move. But when black descends here at S16, then the game is back to even.
Yep, so the game is back to even. And Alan has some ideas, which we'll see in the game, about how he's still going to harass the white group on the bottom. But Michael immediately defends against the most urgent threat, which is that crosscut with this tiger's mouth. And then Alan is forced to play all of these moves in order to connect up his center with his top side.
By the way, we have the Twitch chat open. We love questions. We're not seeing any right now, but feel free to stop us at any time. I know Chris is also just watching the chat. Stop us if anyone has questions.
We're an open book.
Yeah.
So this sequence, I was really surprised to see. We've seen in so many in the previous 2 rounds this ProQual, right? Alan, I've seen, a lot of us have seen a lot of his games for years, and one thing that's always stood out to me is, his mastery of shape. Basically, his sense of shape is so good. When you get to a high level like that, there are, things that people kind of become known for, whether it's being known for a lot of fighting. I think in my mind, like I think Alan really stands out with his just like superb positional judgment, and also just his like very elegant shape in games. And so here, we've seen so many times Alan, be on kind of doling out the punishment to other players and bullying their shape. And here, seeing him being on the receiving end of that a little bit, was a little surprising. So this sequence by White, right? All of these moves are forced, but it does seem like after this, like Black ends up with worse shape in this upper right-hand corner.
Yeah. And so now Alan's going to activate his idea that he had when he descended at S16 originally. So he Hanes and then plays this move. So if this leaves a ko in the corner, if White tries to defend against that, then Black can descend here, and the White group will just die. So that's not acceptable. So White has to play here, and then Alan cuts here. And the idea is that if White tries to just capture this stone like this, at any point Alan could cut like this and then extend. And no matter what Michael does, there's going to be a ko. So when Alan cut here, Michael just defended on the right-hand side. This lets Alan extend here in Sente. And the game is like still just about even for both sides.
Even, right.
And yeah, extending here is a very big move. You don't want to allow the Hane at the head of 2 stones. And Black's whole center doesn't have that much eye shape yet. So we have to be very careful about the shape here. White extends here. This is aiming at like some of Black's weaknesses. We have to defend.
White is going on the attack while also trying to build that center.
Yeah. And then we see a very nice sharp move by Michael to wedge here. The idea of this move is that if Black was to just capture the stone, White could first Atari. When Black takes, White could play this critical move. If Black tries to defend against the threat, then White plays here and the Black group is dead. So instead, if Black plays this move, White can cut here. And even though Black can live, White has gained a lot by capturing that stone at B11. So this would not be acceptable for Black either. So that means that Black actually cannot capture this wedge. So it was a very nice move.
Right. And of course, Alan didn't miss these sequences, so he's forced to pull back. But then this is a slight endgame gain for Michael.
Yeah.
So would you say that at this point, this is kind of getting into the early endgame, right?
Yeah, this is getting into the early endgame. And I think Michael is like starting to pull a little bit ahead at this point by about like 3 or 4 points. Black plays some exchanges. Like this is very good because like you can take away some of White's points before settling. And Black's actually already like alive here. So Black just goes on the attack. And then comes back and saves the 3 stones. Few more moves, and then eventually, after all of that, because White got this B6 move, Black did have to go back and add another stone to live. So this was a very nice invasion point as well for Michael. And after this sequence that played out, you can see that suddenly White has a lot of points on the top, whereas just a few moves ago, it looked like that might have been Black's points. So I really liked this invasion point. The AI was suggesting that Alan could have tried to fight with a sequence like this, and you can't just come back and defend passively with a move like this. You have to go on a counterattack.
Right. You have to try to break the center.
White would have to pull back to not lose those 2 stones, and a big fight would break out. it would be very complicated, and this might have kept the game like close to even. But after this sequence, Michael's definitely like 3 or 4 points ahead. Black turns here, and then white jumps, black slides. This is just a sequence. And then here's the key point in the game, or one of them. There's a big opportunity here for Alan to actually go for the all-out attack with this cut. And if white tries to connect, black can play this wedge. And there's no way for white to actually connect back all of the stones. No matter what white does, there's a cut. If white wedges this way, then it's still cut off. And even if the right-hand side group dies, then maybe there would be a cut here, and then something would die for white. It's very interesting because, like, when white plays this A4 move, like the first instinct is just to take the ko, wait for your opponent to do a ko threat, and when they take back, like, then you think about where to play next.
Right. That's kind of the proverb, right? Just take the ko first.
Yeah. And so that's what Alan did. And then Michael like immediately like fixed the problem in Sente with this move. So black defended so that they didn't lose the 2 stones, but now that same sequence would not work. Now white could just connect here, and there's no way for black to cut. So there was only one point where Alan could have launched that counterattack, and he just missed it. And so again, like the game was like pretty good for Michael. But it's a very complicated endgame. Like the center is very unclear how to play it. There's also like this bottom side.
So at this point, they're continuing and just playing out the endgame.
Yeah, and like I think Alan's playing the endgame like pretty well at this point. Like, but then here, this was quite passive, and I don't quite know what was going on with this move. Like, it's not a threat against white, and so white could have just played like any big endgame move and probably would have been okay. But white also answered, so at that point, black feels free to start this ko, and this ko is going to go on for quite a long time, with a lot of ko threats happening. We don't have to like focus on each individual ko threat, but this was a very nice one because if white throws in, white would only have 1 ko threat. By playing here, white will have a second ko threat later.
So I think earlier you might have been showing me an AI sequence where white could have just avoided the ko and defended the center instead, right?
That's going to come up still.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Later.
So this ko is still going on. All these are ko threats. This is a ko threat as well to cut off the black group. This is a ko threat. And then here, yeah, at this point.
This decisive moment. Okay.
Yeah, so at this point, what white should have done is just sealed off the center. And if black finishes the ko, white still has the option to come and play here. And white would have all the points in the center and not even have lost much in the corner. Or if white plays here and black extends, then it's still going to be a ko. This is very passive, and it's almost like he might have been thinking that black would capture and then white would get to play here anyways. But this was a very nice move by Alan to ignore white's move and play in the center right now. And then it's still a ko at the top.
Right. This judgment here is just so difficult. You know, like when do you defend the center? When do you continue to play for the points on the side? This is very, very subtle here.
Yeah. But so now it's like very, very close. But there just never seemed to be the opportunity for Alan to make that final like 1 point gain.
Right. So essentially, after Alan broke through to the center at that move at H14, that was sort of him regaining another 3 or 4 points to make it roughly even again. And from here on, really, there's no mistakes. It's just that, you know, like white is half a point ahead.
Exactly. Yeah.
To the end.
White was just half a point ahead, and that's what it ended up being. They ended up fighting like another Ko at the very end of the game, but it was right here. This Ko ends up being fought for a while, but Black just did not have enough Ko threats to actually win this Ko. And so when we got to this point, Alan is completely out of Ko threats. He had to connect here,
Right.
and that was the game. White won by half a point.
So really fierce fighting, that ending game Ko all the way down to the end until all of the Ko threats were exhausted. And what an incredible upset!
Yeah,
from 13-year-old Michael-Xu this tournament against the really the favorite who is definitely playing at a professional level. So Michael-Xu, it's anyone's tournament. If he doesn't get minted as the pro this year, certainly I feel like we're watching the development of a future pro in the making. And it's really moments like this that are why the ProQual is so special. It brings together the entire community. Just we love to see exciting games like this, like incredibly high quality games.
A question for you, Joel. You've been in these kind of situations. We have two teenagers, not one but two teenagers, in the tournament or in the ProQual this year. I think it's fair to say that changes the dynamic. Can you talk a little bit about how so?
Well, I'd say like when you're playing teenagers, they just calculate so quickly. Whereas like somebody like me, like I have like old man brain, and so it takes me a long time to see what they can see in an instant, and so that they can put a lot of clock pressure on you as well. I think in this game, Alan was actually like I think he might have gone to Biomi first, but only by a few minutes. And I also know Alan has very fast calculation, so I don't know like who's faster at calculating, but you can definitely feel it when you're playing the teenagers.
Right. But I think this game is very much an example of like Michael just played extremely well. It's not that like Black had any serious like blunders or misses.
Right. It was a very close game, and Michael showed that he can like win these like very close end games. So.
Yeah, and the other thing that I've certainly seen is that sometimes the youngsters they do calculate incredibly quickly. They know all of the latest stuff, the newest Josekis, but they can. I think sometimes they can play maybe a little too fast, right? Sometimes and sometimes, especially in a long game like this one, they can make mistakes. In the end, and we did not see that in this game.
Yeah,
it's a really high quality game.
I remember 2 years ago, at the Montreal ProQual that Joel was playing in, right? That was Michael's, I believe, first ProQual appearance, and you faced off against him then. He won that game. But like certainly the thing with players at this level, their development is so surprising, and it's often not linear. It's really hard to say, like how quickly they can shoot up even in just like a year or a couple of months.
Yeah,
it's really been exciting to see his development here.
They get stronger and taller at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's wonderful to see, and great commentary. What we'll do is just switch back to our very popular rotating boards. Thanks again to Daniel Lambert, who's our look and feel maestro. Let me just get that rotating boards up there. We're going to go off camera and off mic for a second, switch games. We'll be right back, everybody. Don't go away. And we are back. All right, folks, just a reminder, Joel and Laura would love your comments. And so
yes,
go ahead
please ask us questions.
But in any case, we're going to go on to our second game. This, I think, also is from this morning, yes?
Yes, so this one is Eric Lee against Chi Yu Wu. This was another very close game.
Yeah, so this was the round 3 game that happened in Group B this morning at 10 a.m. And it also showed, 2 people kind of leading the pack in Group B, facing off against each other, and with a very decisive victory for Chiyo.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take a look.
So Eric Lee is black and Chiyu is white, and this game was also just very close throughout most of the game. So we have a Chinese or a mini Chinese Fuseki.
Micro Chinese.
Micro Chinese,
I think,
that
right?
called?
Yeah, I remember back in the day, this used to be incredibly popular. I remember Guli and a lot of pros back in the 2010-ish era, right? We're experimenting around with it. So it's like a mini Chinese, but still one closer to the 3/4 stone.
Nice.
Now rarely seen these days, in professional Go, but certainly very, very playable.
And so we actually see the new move that AI introduced to us when you're facing the Chinese opening or any of its variants, which is this attach. And the idea here is that if black just hanes, then white can counter hane. And after a sequence like this, we see that black is overconcentrated, especially with this M17 stone. It's not well placed. And white has broken up the formation quite nicely. So black did not want to go into that variation. That would have been favorable for white. So black instead extends here, and this is another way to play. White has to descend down. White at this point could have chosen to make this sort of scorpion shape, and if black Atari's like this, then white can jump out. Instead, when white haned here, then black just chose to turn. And then we just see white trying to settle their shape and doing so successfully, but black has preserved all of the outside. So black it attaches on top.
So as a Q player, I thought that this was interesting because I'd actually never seen the Joseki at the top right before. We see the mini Chinese so little these days, and especially to see these new AI variations is exciting. But this is an even result, right?
I believe this is even.
Yeah. And so this shows both players are obviously playing at a very high level, just very well caught up on all of their AI variations.
I have to say though, when I saw it, when I was watching it, I've been looking at something. I looked back and thought, what the hell shape is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had the same reaction, but no, this is Joseki, and this is something that, all of the players, competing at this level, I imagine would be familiar with. Yeah.
I think Shusaka would have a cow if he saw this Joseki.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we're going to continue to see white take a lot of territory and black get a lot of outside influence. So white jumps into the corner, and then this is the shape point for black. White has to bump, black extends, and then at this point, white absolutely has to cut here. Otherwise, if white just lives in the corner and black was able to defend, this would be too thick for black. So we see the cut, black gets to this point.
So would you say that the entire sequence up until this point is more or less also forced or a standard sequence? So if we go back a few moves, right? Mm-hmm. Is this a standard follow-up to after the pincer and then white tanukis and then black comes back to add an extra move?
I think so. I've never seen that exact variation before, but all of the moves look natural. I know that sometimes white will play this sort of a diagonal move. And then if black defends, then white can jump into the corner like this. Or if black defends this way, then white can hane like this, and black won't be able to contain white. Mm. This move also just looks natural, though. And then this is shape point in general when you have this kind of tiger's mouth shape. And I don't know exactly what to call this, but you have a tiger's mouth here, and then you have these two white stones. You want to jump. You don't just want to hane. If you just hane, then white will Hane as well, and you can't really double it, Tari. So you can't double Hane, so you just have to extend, and then it feels a little unsatisfying. So this is a better shape. And then black extends.
But not something that you've seen before.
I haven't seen this exact thing, but every move looks correct.
So for those of you who don't know, we are married. We met through Go, and I can personally attest to the fact that like Joel studies a lot with AI at home. And so I feel like a lot of the times, I'm just watching these games, and then I'll just often ask him, like, is this a thing? Like, is this an AI sequence? And then he'll just, kind of have a response for that.
It could be an AI sequence. It's just not one I've seen before.
Gotcha.
But white will live in the corner quite comfortably after all of these moves. And black still doesn't have a way to capture the cutting stone directly. So black just plays the shape point, which is here. White will extend. And then black defends against the cutting points. And then white just plays this very nice looking jump where it's kind of treating the cutting stones lightly, but also like sort of trying to break into the giant area that black's developing in the center.
So at this point, a fight is starting, but it's basically still dead even after the opening, more or less.
Yep, still dead even. And what ends up happening is that white sacrifices the cutting stones in order to develop the position in the center and take away black's points there. And this is still about even. It's very impressive. Black continues to develop their points on the bottom and makes the Moyo big, and then goes on a slight attack, just a bit of pressure. White defends, and black just continues to build points in the center and the sides while white takes the corner territory. And it's still very, very even. The game like actually kind of eventually just kind of enters an end game where it's all like we're already entering end game, and it's still like within a couple of points for each side.
Right. It's been a very impressively close game.
And yeah, so they're playing out end game sequences, but something does happen eventually. White captures a couple of stones here, not a big deal. More end game here. And then this was a very key point that sort of started the fireworks. So this is not just a big move compared to black getting here in terms of points. It's also aiming at black's weaknesses with this connection. It's not perfectly connected. And if it gets cut off, then it will be weak. So black tries to fix the shape like this, and that allows white to extend here, and black still needs to deal with the thinness. And so black tries to deal with it by going on a counter attack.
Right, but so this move at S13 is a great example of, right, you're kind of poking at your opponent's weaknesses, but you're doing so in a way that makes you points, right?
Yeah.
So even if like black is able to survive this attack, right, the profit is really just from the end game gain on the side.
Yep. And so yeah, if black was just to connect back like this, black would feel pretty bad. And because white gained all this profit in Sente, so black tries to counterattack, and then white tries to counterattack.
Yes, always counterattack, and always counterattack the counterattack.
Mm-hmm. And so it got very complicated, but I believe this is where black started to go wrong. What black should have done, and this is very hard to tell during the game, but black should actually just connect here. If white extends like this, black can play this move. If white still tries to cut off, black has a Tsuji here. Do you know what this is called? It's called something like the lover's cut.
No, I've never heard of this Tsuji. Oh, interesting.
Very poetic.
Mm-hmm. So then white would have to capture. Black could Atari, connect here. If white cuts off, black can extend down like this. There's a threat to capture here, capture the white stones here. So white has to connect up the stones, and then black could play this Atari, and this is threatening to cut off the whole white group in the center from the right side. So after a sequence like this, then black would have been alive with 2 eyes. This is very hard to read.
Right. This is an incredibly complicated, sequence that we all got just with the hindsight of Katago.
Right, and so like black was okay in this fight, but it requires very deep reading, and so white's counterattack here was like very like
Very
good from
sharp.
like a human perspective.
Yeah.
Uh,
Why is it called the lover's cut?
I don't know.
It's just a wedge, right?
Yeah, I guess you could call it a wedge, but there's like the wedge where it's like,
Wedge is less poetic.
yeah, it's more fun to give like these
I
names.
have a guess for you if you want to play.
Yeah.
Well, it involves a little bit of sacrifice, yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's true. Yeah. Relationships require some sacrifice.
Just saying.
Okay, so let's look at the results that Black got in the game, because Black did manage to live here, but in a way that was about like 4 points worse than kind of the optimal AI sequence.
Yeah, so Black has like similar ideas with like this wedging move, but it's just not quite as good in this variation. Like this looks similar, and then it's very difficult even here for Black to read out the correct sequence. But the correct way for Black to have played would have been not to play this move, even though it looks very natural, like just making a very clear eye, but instead to play like this. If White tries to save the stone, then Black cuts off the center, and that's game over. So White instead has to Atari here, and then Black would not cut. Black would not capture. Black would connect here. White would again defend this cut, and then Black could play here. And then this looks like 2 eyes, but White can then play this Atari. If Black connects, White would come through and capture the corner, and that would be a win for White. So instead, Black would have to play like this. When White captures, if Black connects, then this is a ko for life. And so this would have been, White was ahead by like 5 points or so. But again, very complicated sequence to figure all of that out.
Black ahead by 4, right? 4 or 5.
No, White would have been ahead here because this ko is just too heavy for Black.
I see.
But instead, Black plays here, and then White could have won the game, but it would have involved a little bit of risk, because in the game we get to this sequence, and White could have played this move to take away Black's eyes. If Black just connects, then there's no way to make a second eye for the Black group. So instead, if White plays here, Black would have to cut, but then this ko is just too favorable for White. There's just nothing good enough for Black to do. So this move at 1 would have like won the game for Chiyu pretty quickly, but he didn't want to fight the ko, so he connected, and that allows Black to live with this move. And so the game became very, very close again. I don't remember the exact score at this point, but it was within a couple of points, but I think still in White's favor. And then they just continued to play the end game. And in the end, White Chiyu won by, was it 4.5 points?
I think 4.5, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had 2 4.5-point games, a half-point game, and a resignation this morning. I was thinking at one point they were all going to try and have a 4.5-point margin.
Yeah, that would have been really funny, but we didn't quite get that. There was this interesting opportunity to like escalate the ko with a move like this, but I think at this point White had counted that they were ahead, so they would spend some time here thinking about it, but they did eventually just decide to not go for it, and it was probably the right choice because they were able to win the game.
Right. And this is again just showing, the really high level of judgment and counting right,
Mhm.
in this tournament.
Yeah, and just a couple more endgame moves, and then that was it.
But 4.5 points, still quite a close game. And with that, it brought TO up to 2-0. With Eric Lee in second at 2-1.
Yeah.
His only loss to TO.
Really good game, really interesting from the beginning right on through, and interesting that you're using Katko to do the analysis, but reminder that to do this in real time. I mean, some of these games have gone. I think yesterday we had a 4-hour game, had some really long games, and these guys are playing two rounds a day. So this is a lot of. We have the live cam now, so it's interesting to watch the players, and they're just. Joel, you've been there. I mean, this is. I remember, and I'm not at your level, but I remember I would usually lose 5-10 pounds over a weekend tournament just from concentrating. But probably wasn't eating well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of stress, but some players thrive under that kind of pressure.
Got it. All right, do you have one more? Did you want to take a look at some of the live games?
Let's take a look at some of the live games now. We can go to the carousel and then come back with one of the ongoing.
Hang in there, guys. We'll be right back. All right, folks, we are back. This is our third game for the recap, again with Joel and Laura. And this is looking at a game which I believe is going on right now, yeah?
Yes, it's still ongoing as far as we know.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is our first look at this round 4 game between Eric Yoder and Michael-Xu in Group A. And this should be an interesting one to watch because right now Michael-Xu is at the top of the pack 2-0. He did take a bye in the second round, I believe. Eric Yoder is at 1-1, but if he manages to pull off a win against Michael here, we could have some really interesting tie breaks for Group A. So why don't we let's take a look at what happens. So we were not able to do any prep with AI beforehand, but
we haven't even like seen the game without AI yet.
Let's kind of take it in. So it's a pretty standard opening. Eric Yoder is playing as black. Michael-Xu is playing as white. And this is, standard Joseki. So Joseki that, every Q player knows by heart.
And then Eric Yoder and like his friends like Jay and Paige, like they all like this sort of two-space low pincer.
Yes, the two-space low.
They have so much theory on it. So.
Yeah, so the two-space low, I think is one of those pincers that has gained a lot of popularity after AI and a lot of like really intense, very crazy variations. I remember on a recent, AGA stream from earlier this year, I think, Chris, it was you and Michael Redmond, and I think Michael Redmond said something like, I don't think anyone fully understands this pincer, and no one should be playing it, or something to that effect. But certainly, yeah, I mean, certainly Eric Yoder, also like does a lot of studying with AI, knows a lot of the theory behind this pincer, and maybe some of like the tricks and traps here. So let's see if we see any of that in action.
If there's anybody in North America that knows this pincer, it's probably Eric Yoder. So let's see what happens.
Right. So the push and cut is basically just, so one way of dealing with the two-space low pincer, if we go back, is just for, so white to knight's move here, is the most common response, but white has other ways of essentially like dodging the complicated variations. Maybe we can cover some of those.
Yeah, so this move would be like keeping it more simple. If black just extends, then there's like a trade that can happen, something like this. And this would be close enough to even if you don't want to get into complicated Joseki.
Or an even simpler way is something, so Joel is also very much my go-tutor at home. He reviews a lot of my games, and in response to that two-space jump, you've showed me that a very simple way to play is just for black to kick. Just take the corner territory.
Like this?
Right.
Yeah.
And this is kind of like good enough, if you want to keep things like very simple. But definitely if black is like doing the two-space low pincer, they're angling for the complicated variations. And with this Kema here, obviously Michael-Xu is not going to back down from this fight.
Yeah. Yeah. White could also have chosen just to like Tanuki. But Michael is not afraid of going into this fight, and so they started this.
This is the pinwheel Joseki.
Right,
yeah.
And this is the start of all of the incredibly complicated AI variations here.
So Michael plays this diagonal, and so this diagonal has the immediate threat of playing here next. So like if black was to like defend the corner or something, then white could play here. If black pushes through, white drops down, and then white is all connected. So black has to deal with this elephant eye threat immediately when white plays here. And so that's what this move does. Even though it looks weird, if we think about that same variation, this doesn't work. And this also gets cut off. So this move is like one of the Josekis from here. And so white will jump into the corner. And then at this point, that's the end of my knowledge of this Joseki. So now I don't know if they know it still or if it's just becoming an all-out fight.
Right. Now it just seems like it's turning into a brawl.
Yep. Yeah, so this move, what black would not want to do is just push through naively. That would lose the cutting stones. So this is like kind of a shape point. What did happen here? Black pushed through once and then jumped out with the cutting stones. So that allowed white to turn. And there's just so many groups here that are like unsettled.
Very complicated fight. And the status in the corner, right, is still very much up in the air. I know a lot of the times in these incredibly complicated AI variations, as a result of this two-space low pincer, right, there's usually some sort of capturing race that happens.
But yeah, so black can't try and like kill the corner right away because then black would die. So
Right.
this move is Sente. White cuts, black goes back. And then white has to go back and try and live in this corner. Black extends here. And then now white's going to activate these cutting stones, which makes sense because when white played here, black didn't secure them.
So, what do you think the idea behind this R17 move could be? I think the shape looks a little funny, right? I would think that if white was just trying to live, why not capture the stone at S14?
I think like if you just capture the stone at S14, and then like let's say black still played here, and then white went into this variation like in the game,
Right.
You've put less pressure on this black group. And so that means that black's going to be able to continue the fight against this white group more strongly. So white wants to play here not just to live, but also to aim at capturing these stones or at pulling out this.
I see.
So when black defends over here, we see white pulling out the cutting stones, and then this stone is clearly more useful at this spot. Black goes for like this squeeze, and it's this is Sente. If white just tries to Hane out, then you can throw in and then play here, and it's a connect and die. So white had to prevent that. This is Sente, and then this Hane here, and it's very fierce.
Yeah, second line Hane is definitely very, very fierce move.
Yeah, like it's basically asking for white to cut here, which white did in the game. Black extends, and then white just came back to play this Atari. Black went here, and then white finished. Okay, so well, it resolved kind of peacefully in the end. If black had just connected here, then maybe white could have first pulled out the stones, and then it would play here, and then white should be winning this capturing race.
So instead, okay, so if white was already winning the capturing race, then I guess it makes sense that Eric would want to get the initiative by getting the first move on the outside.
Yeah, but then there's still like a lot of Aji in the corner if white plays somewhere else, like there's be like a Ko, for example.
So how would you judge the board position at the end of this fight? So we have white seems to have captured quite a few points in the corner, right? But then also was squeezed into kind of this ugly dumpling shape at the top. Black has this thickness on the outside.
I like black here because black got Sente. Black's groups are pretty strong, and white has like this group, which is not all that useful, but it's kind of heavy.
Right.
Also, the white corner is not really that big. If you look at every stone plate has been responded to. So, and
Exactly.
white's never going to get any more points in that corner.
Yeah, it's very constrained, and it's completely surrounded. And this was white's corner to begin with. Black got Sente. I think black's doing pretty well here. I haven't seen what the AI val is, but I'd be happy as black.
The other thing that I would just note, this is round 4, which almost immediately followed round 3. They had a little bit of a break. I think a little bit more of a break today than yesterday, but still, there's not a lot of recovery time between round 3 and round 4. I'm just really impressed at being able to pull off this kind of calculation, after. And in a way, maybe that's because they have, really sharp games in the morning, so they're kind of in better shape. But I know,
Absolutely. So these are incredibly long games, right? Which is nice to see. 75-minute main time per side, and then 5 periods of 1 minute Byoyomi each. It's interesting. I feel like we're also used to fast tournaments with Fischer these days. That it's nice to kind of take a step back. The longer time settings, the longer Byoyomi periods really allows for some really deep thinking and some very high quality play in these games that we've seen. And certainly Joel knows, from firsthand experience, right? Like your experience playing in like a couple of these ProQuals now, they're you want to like maximize, use up the full time, like take up the full periods, but then for your morning game, like you might end up like not having time for lunch or not having like that much of a break, and then it's very difficult, I would imagine, right, to go into the afternoon.
Yeah, and like Michael's game in the morning was the last to finish. It went for more than 4 hours.
Right. It was Michael versus Alan this morning. He pulled off that really decisive half-point win, and so to see him, continuing to play at a high level when he must be feeling exhausted. Although I don't know, he's 13, so maybe he's still like bouncing around full of energy.
Yeah, this is
hard to say.
This really goes back to your teenager question, Chris. Maybe he still has a lot of energy. We don't know.
All right, so Black has Sente now, right?
Yep. So Black approaches the corner. White attaches out. This is just a common like Joseki, and then Black grabs the enclosure on the 3-4 point. White and starts the attack on the Black group. And now what Black is saying that they're willing to sacrifice one stone like this if White wants it.
To me, like this Tanuki, to grab the corner point at P4 is very much, it's like he's saying, "Fight me," like right.
Yeah, He could have just extended here, and then
right.
White would have come in.
That would have been normal, but it seems like he's really like looking for a fight. And of course, it's Eric Yoder. We've all seen, over the years, like many very exciting fighting games from him. So let's see how this develops.
It's interesting because White, like Eric, has to keep in mind that this stone can still come out if depending on what happens with the ladders when the fight breaks out. So this is actually exactly what happened in the game. And then White moved out with this stone, with this group of stones. I think like if I was Eric now, I'd be wanting to like find a way to deal with this capture, because if that stone is captured, then Black's group in the center is thick, which means White's group is just kind of heavy and floating. But if that stone at the top escapes, then Black has like weak groups too, and it's just not really a favorable fight for either side.
Yeah, one of the things that you've kind of taught me, as you've been reviewing my games is whenever you make a ladder capture, right, at the first possible opportunity, it's always a big move to just use a move to just cleanly capture and clean up the ladder-aji. I think it's, that's one of the things that's still kind of surprising to me, as an SDK, just exactly how valuable those kinds of moves can be.
It's a lesson from being in the kitchen. Always clean up your mess.
Okay, so Eric just grabs a big point, and they're just going to focus on the bottom side. Oh, interesting. So we didn't see Black just descend like this, which would have allowed this maybe, and then White would have been pretty settled.
Right. So this is the standard follow-up after Black cuts at a D4 and tries to capture the one white stone.
Yeah. So Black tries to get this just to get a little bit more,
and possibly also so that White's shape is less settled on the outside.
Right. And then like if White still just goes here, then White has one eye, but maybe he's thinking that like compared to the other sequence we showed, White would have had the ability to like make a second eye here at any point. But if we had got into this position, White wouldn't have that option as clearly. But because he's played it in this order, that allows White to turn here. If Black was just to play this move, then White could throw in first, and then go down here, and it would just be a ko for the corner, like this. Or maybe here. And so that's why we see this move. It's the only move that like can cleanly capture the 3 stones. And so, yeah, so I guess the result is that black did manage to get this turn against white. So white has like slightly less eye space. The downside is that these stones are not as cleanly captured as they would have been in other variations. So that could become very relevant if there's like a co-fight later. Also, like we have to remember that like a move like this can still be sente, which might help white in some cases. So yeah, white decides to play for this spot, and so Eric immediately attacks the vital point. Ooh, that feels pretty painful to have to play there.
It's nice shape too, right?
Yeah, like maybe he should just go. I would feel pretty bad about ending up in this position, and I would be regretting not playing my jump 1 to the left and not having to deal with whatever's happening with this.
Yeah.
He does
a sharp move by Eric Yoder there.
Really,
like
really sharp.
For the stone, but this is an eyeless group now, so I like what Eric.
How do you feel about dumplings, Joel?
Yeah,
that's a big old dumpling right there.
Yeah,
it's a huge dumpling. Yeah, and white's also not settled over here, so
I was gonna say I assumed that black is actually aiming to the right, probably, right?
There's a lot of like targets for black to aim at in this board position. I like how Eric's playing. Yeah, this is also a threat because if white was to just try an Atari, then black could play here, and white has to capture, and then this is a double Atari.
Right, that looks like it's game over. Wow.
Yeah. So white had to connect here. This is like kind of the second time we've seen this sort of shape in this game.
I feel like this is the nature of Go, right? It's like one line, one intersection makes such a huge difference, as we all know, as Go players to your shape, right? Mm-hmm. It's the difference between, having a solid eye and a solid group and just getting quite severely attacked like this.
Yeah.
Very subtle. Yeah.
Well, and there's also a thing where you don't have to, you guys have been talking a lot about shape. And one of the things I think it's not just about making good shape for yourself, but anytime you can force your opponent to make bad shape, that's just a yummy feeling, isn't it?
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, so this looks like where the game was when we grabbed it a couple minutes ago. So
do we want to just run a quick AI evaluation to see? Well, yeah, I mean, it does seem like it's like, cheating a little bit, but we have the technology, at our fingertips now. So it's always interesting to see.
No cheating. Michael uses AI. You guys use AI. We all use AI. So
yeah.
I mean, like I'd say like one thing white's still aiming at perhaps is like this sort of thing. If like this, then it would be a ko potentially to unsettle the black group. So the black group still has some weaknesses to worry about, but this is also a heavy ko for white if they choose to start it. So let's see what the game's.
It's interesting. Go ahead. I'm also looking at where the game is now, which is not that much farther along than where you guys have it.
Right. So AI is saying that black is 13 points ahead at this point.
Yeah, very exciting. And then, if we go to maybe some of the critical
Yeah, we can jump to what I thought was the critical points.
mistakes here. Right.
That would be interesting to see. So that I wouldn't say that was a big mistake. It's fine. But okay, so this was a pretty big mistake in the end. What should have happened is white should have actually tried to save this cutting stone. And then that would have, black wouldn't be able to wedge here because white could take. So black would have to defend, and then white would have the chance to defend.
That's so scary though, to just like every time I play this pincer, I'm always just, kind of very anxious until I like settle my shape in the corner and then I'm like, oh, phew, I'm alive, so I can definitely understand the temptation to just, live while feeling like you're also pressuring that black scorpion shape at the top.
And it's still like very unclear because like the white group is still not alive at the top right, but neither is black. And so white has to pull out these stones. And then it's still a very large fight. But I guess compared to the game, in the game, black's able to capture this stone, and there's still a fight in the corner. But on this variation, white managed to pull out the stone and still get the fight in the corner. So it's a pretty big difference.
Right, very exciting.
Mm-hmm. This was all actually pretty accurate. And then this move was probably a bit slack according to AI. It does clean up the Aji, but it's a bit slow because if white had just, I think, played something else. No, that wasn't that. Why is this move? It should be. I don't know why this is a mistake. Maybe he doesn't have the ladder, though, does he? No. I don't know, but
Seems
very
subtle.
complicated.
Yeah. But I think it's black up ahead by like 12 points at this point. A lot of wild fighting. It's a lot of action this game. We're definitely seeing a lot of Eric Yoder's playing style. And, Michael is not backing down from any of these fights. He's rising up to the challenge, but it's possible that we are potentially seeing some fatigue, from his extremely drawn out game from the morning round. It was one of the last ones to finish, I'm sure that it was exhausting.
I want to really second that, Laura. I think you're right on with that comment. And this is something I've done a lot of recordings. I've spent a lot of time on these top boards, and you can't. And Joel, you know this. You really can't overestimate the just the cumulative. At this point, you're 2 days in. These are 4 very serious games. These are key. This round robin is a lot of fun to the round robin because everybody's playing and everybody's in the room and everybody's kind of excited. But the stakes are very high because if you don't make it out of the round robin, you're done. Right, then you're out, and so there's this kind of cool feeling, but also realize what you're playing for. And I think definitely sometimes with the younger players, I've seen players who are maybe technically weaker but older and more experienced, do well. I think, Joel, you've seen the same thing, right?
Absolutely, and well, Eric's got a lot of experience getting out of the group stage, so aiming to do that again.
Yeah. So, right. I mean, if Eric Yoder is able to continue playing as fiercely as he has, for this first half, it's possible that he could take this win. Then he would be 2-1.
He'd be 2-1. Michael Xu would be 2-1. Alan would be 2-1. So that and then Evan would
Does
also.
Alan have a bye this round?
Alan has a bye this round.
Yeah.
But Evan Tan is also 2-1 now after beating Jay in this round. So that would be. Right. 4 players at 2-1.
So potentially a lot of very interesting tie breaks and will make for a very interesting round 5.
Yeah, absolutely.
From a broadcast perspective, we like that. We're always for complicated tie breaks.
So just to remind everyone, for the stream, for the tie breaks, they look at head-to-head first, right?
Yep. It's head-to-head first. But if head-to-head can't resolve it, like if there's a 3-way tie and nobody has dominated the other two, then there's going to be some like blitz tiebreak games, I believe.
It gets really. I've been with the TDs when they're working on that, and you really got to appreciate. I don't do it, so I really appreciate that. The job for the TDs, they have to really understand this stuff. They got to deal with the players. They've got to be really, fair. But I mean, I've never really seen any issues about it. But there's big stakes here, so it gets complicated.
Right. And just a quick shout out just to all of the organizers and everyone who has made this event possible. Obviously the players, but then everyone just kind of behind the scenes, making sure that the tournament runs smoothly, in order to really deliver all this incredibly exciting go for the community. And of course Chris too, and all of your work reporting this, the streaming, the reporting for the e-journal. It's all a part of it.
Thank you, Laura. And a special shout out this week. We've been using for the last few years, we've been using these electronic recording boards, which we love. And we actually have 9 of them, and we'll be bringing them to the Go Congress. I'll tell you more about that in a second. But they're for various reasons, they're difficult to transport out. And so the local organizers, Bill Childs, actually recruited real live human game recorders, which I actually love game recording. I don't get to do it anymore because I'm doing this part of stuff and all the organizing of this. But we have the human game recorders, and the round robin where you can have, sometimes we've had 5 games going at a time, and you have 5 games over 2, sometimes 3 days. And the problem is, like this week, they're weekdays, and so you're saying, you need to come and spend all day here during a work day. So big appreciation to all our game recorders is the short version of what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Just a real quick note on our stream this year at the Go Congress. Because we have all of these boards, we're going to be doing top boards, and they've combined the Masters and the U.S. Open this year, which is good. Bigger prize pool sort of simplifies things, but because we have extra boards now, we're actually going to pick out 1 or 2 single-digit Don player and single-digit Q player games to stream, because frankly, if you look at most Go players out there are more in that sort of single-digit Don to low single-digit Q players, and so
yes, as a 4Q, I support this.
Just for you, Laura. Just for you.
Oh no, please don't.
But here's the thing: is that it's fun. It is really cool. I mean, people do kind of have that reaction. Oh no, it's a great idea, but not my game, right?
Yeah. But yeah, we're very excited for the Go Congress. Joel and I will both be there in Boston. Looking forward to just seeing meeting new friends from the Go community. Catching up with old friends is always like one of the highlights of Congress for us.
Yeah. Other than having it in New York City, but it's about as close as you can get to your home as possible, isn't it?
Yeah, it's nice to have it back on the East Coast.
Yeah. All right, guys. Really, if there's anything else to say on this, I think we can wrap for tonight. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Sounds great.
Joel
Thank you, everyone.
Kennedy, Laura Wu, thank you both so much. Wonderful commentary. You guys are a great duo on the board as well as in life. So we really appreciate you both.
Thank you.
We'll see you in Boston.
See you.
Yep, see you there.
All right, we are out.
All right. Well, thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks for running.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly a lot of it is like when we're just watching at home, we have a lot of like similar conversations, right? With like me asking like the Q level questions and Joel showing stuff. So we're happy to do it. We have a lot of fun. Thank you. All right. Have a good night, Chris. Yeah.